Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla. Today I have the honor of having Joe Justice with me with an interview. And if you don't know who the heck Joe Justice is, well, he has worked for small companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Toyota, Tesla. He also is the CEO of a company called Wikispeed that holds 4 world records. He's the author of a book called Scrum Master and Scrum Certified Master and all other kind of great books he has out right now. He is also the chair of Agile Business Institute, chair of Extreme Manufacturing Method. He is the Scrum Master, Mr. Agile himself, Joe Justice. Welcome, Joe, and thank you so much for being here today.
It is awesome to be part of Best in Tesla. Thank you, Lars.
Thank you so much. It is so cool to have you on because you have worked at Tesla, as some people might know, but you have also worked at many other companies, OEMs, so you know how they work. And that's what I think is so interesting about the speed of Tesla, because I think it kind of clicked for me first time I heard you talk about how Tesla works, because we all have heard about, that they made 14 design changes to an octovalve in 3 months or something like that. But how they do it, how is that even possible, kind of started making sense to me when I started hearing you talk about it. So, but before we get into that, you are also CEO of a company called Wikispeed that has some world records. What is Wikispeed?
Wikispeed was a tiny company that started in my garage and grew to 4,000 people in 23 countries. And it makes cars, and it makes houses, and it has done some vaccine distribution projects for polio. It's a social good do tank. And how that worked is it's modeled after Wikipedia, where whatever it is we're working on, we make available as clearly as anyone knows how, as fast as anyone can figure out. So it's just as visible as possible. Just like a Wikipedia article where if you sign up and qualify to be an editor, you can edit. Well, it's like that, except it's CAD of cars and then machining steps and safety tests, and people organically collaborate all around the world. And that led me to be co-captain of a race team in Germany at the Nürburgring at the Nordschleife, where we raced those cars, and we won. We won the 24 Hours of Nürburgring V6 class in 2014.
Oh, cool. Is that some of the world record, or what are these 4 world records you're holding?
Those records are different. Just winning the 24 Hours of Nürburgring is totally epic and one of my favorites, but not quite a world record. So what is fastest time to produce a road legal vehicle from scratch, from design to certified road legal, and then lightest vehicle to achieve a 5-star crash rating equivalency on the United States safety tests for cars, then the most efficient publicly sold internal combustion powered car. Back before we were electric, we were internal combustion, and a lot of our sprints were to innovate more and more efficient internal combustion at that time. And we hold that record, the most efficient internal combustion powered car that you could buy. Then the fourth one, the lightest, safest thing for sale that can hold 4 adults for road legal operation in the United States and Europe.
Okay, wow. That's so you have the most fuel efficient ICE engine out there.
We did. I stopped. All ICE was killed off for environmental reasons in, might have been 2018. We shut down ICE entirely, which was, we actually still had ICE customers, internal combustion customers and development. It was sad, but it was clearly a dead end technology tree. So better to disrupt yourself than be disrupted. And the electric versions were already better in all regards. So yeah, better to let it go, even though it was a record.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So you actually have some first-hand experience of producing a car and getting it road legal and stuff like that.
I'm one of the few people who has end-to-end designed, analyzed, build, test, and deploy, I think, every part of a road legal car. Murray, the creator of McLaren, Gordon Murray is another one. But there's not that many of us that have been that nerdy, that have gone that deep. So when it comes to that, yes, I did go deep in cars. Yes.
Okay, a very small but unique club you have there. Perfect. Joe, then you got hired by Tesla to be head of agile at Tesla. What is agile at Tesla?
Oh, well, even the hiring process at Tesla is awesome. Somebody has to want you. And so that's usually a team. And they then reach out or put a posting of the type of person they wish they had. And then they interview you. They say, we made this posting, so that's why we are interviewing you. And if they like you enough, they hire you. And there's other groups in Tesla to make the paperwork legal, but they sign off to hire you. And then as soon as you enter Tesla, you can do anything. So you're brought in by a team with a need who then endorses, yes, we want you. But then once you're in, you don't necessarily go to that team. It's fascinating that way. So that's the, how do you get hired? Then what is Agile?
Yeah.
Agile is delivering something that works in the shortest responsible cycle. So the fastest you can make it safe. Faster is better, so that you have a feedback loop. And ideally, you're collaborating with the customer and re-architecting as you go. So it's contrasted to traditional project management, where you make a plan and then you execute the plan and you measure variance to the plan. In Agile, you actually do the same thing, but in the shortest cycle you can, and then you replan. So you don't make a 9-year budget in Agile like Volkswagen just did. In Agile, you budget for teams or operations, but not projects, because you intentionally don't want to commit in advance. You say, let's make really fast iterations and replan. So we have a guess what it costs to run the company, but we don't know if we're going to be upgrading airbags or changing chip suppliers or making a new gigapress. In fact, we don't care. We'll make that decision next week. So now it's what's the awesome thing we can do this week instead of long lead planning.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So you said then you have like a 4-hour onboarding at Tesla and you get a bunch of apps, and then people are empowered to change things and buy robots and even land, I heard you say. How do they manage that? How do that work? People just don't start buying a lot of robots that they don't need the next day because somebody else is changing something.
Something Tesla gets really well and has invested in really well is machine learning. And I'm still not aware of magic machine learning that's beyond human level intelligence in all areas and generalized. But what there is are machine learning stacks that have been being developed for years and years, more than 10 years, most of these stacks. So they've gone through many iterations, many improvements. And they give you feedback on, did you just do something good? And really, is what you just did better than what was there before?
Yeah.
And if you have that, then you can self-manage. You don't need Elon to walk over and say, you did a good job. I mean, that'd be awesome, but you don't need that. Instead, you have on your phone and on these big monitors everywhere, information on, did you just add value beyond the value Tesla had a minute ago? And then that's compared to just financial spend, capital expenditure and operations expenditure, to did you increase the efficiency of capital expenditure and operations expenditure? And if you have any guess of that, even if the feedback loop is not perfect, even if it's only 60% right, and it's better than that a lot of the time, but even if it were just more than half, more than rolling the dice, you can suddenly safely empower thousands of people at once. And they don't even need managers. They're self-managing at that point. I mean, imagine if you're making a beautiful painting and at any moment you have a master right next to you. And as you put the brush down, they say, yes, perfect. And then you do something else and they go, no, not that. You could learn really fast, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's the goal. That's what a manager is supposed to do. But if a machine learning stack can do that, it's even faster. It doesn't get tired. It can pay attention to everybody at once. And you can then do your beautiful painting. And
Mm.
the beautiful painting is the machine that builds the machine, the factory, and the products that then produces.
That is, yeah, because I did a video some time ago, because you did an interview with my buddy Alejandro, where you said this about the changing the speed, changing things all the time. So I got a lot of questions on, but how is it that they get things done when they change everything all the time? Because people are used to, this is your job. You get very good at doing that exact same thing every single day. But a Tesla, next day it's something new, it's changed. How do they get things done? Because the production speed, as we can see it, Volkswagen is trying to catch up to Tesla's production speed of the Model 3. So how is it they can get things done when they change everything all the time?
It's a lot easier to experience than to talk about it.
I
And
could
my top
imagine.
recommendation is, if anyone can, to take vacation time or take time off work or time off school and work for as long as you can in a Musk company. Any Musk company doing anything, no matter what the role was. Come in at the bottom, come in at the top, come in the middle. And once you're inside, it's actually all the same anyway. So whatever, I just accept any job you can and go in. And it then makes sense really, really quickly. But I'll try to say it anyway. But my top recommendation is take 90 days vacation and say, family, check my mail for me, water my plants. I'm going to treat this like I'm training for a marathon or a pro sport or the Olympics or something important, or something you feel is important. And I'm going to throw my all at this. And if it works out, I'll keep doing it forever. But I'm at least going to give it this amount of time undistracted. Like, put your email on vacation responder, personal email too, put your phone in a drawer, lock the drawer, and say, I'll get it in 90 days, and just go for it. Okay. For those who haven't done that yet, there's not really a standard PMO, project management organization. What there is visibility. Now, if you've been in there, I think you'd go, oh yeah, I know what Joe's talking about. But for those who have been in companies with a project management organization their whole career, or you've been studying companies and everything is in the context of a traditional company because it's historical, right? So it's all about project management organizations and planning and metrics and siloing and skills. This is going to sound crazy. It actually works better, and it's actually easier and more comfortable and more fun and less stressful, but it's going to sound nuts to people with preconceptions. So I did even write a book. You can read it if you want. Scrum Master, the Agile Training Seminar for Business Performance. Chapter 10 is just on hardware. What makes this work in hardware? So if you're a book learner type, maybe that works. You go in and there's a to-do list. Okay, we can relate to that. You come into work and there's a to-do list, and it's not broken up by skill. Instead, the priority is to make the work walk up simple as possible. By that, I mean, you walk up to it and you can understand how to contribute in a short amount of time as possible. Now, that doesn't always happen, but it's the goal. The goal is you can walk up to anything, anywhere, and understand it and contribute. And when that happens, you don't have to split by skill. Then work is done in groups. It's not like you're sent off alone and saying, in 2 months, I want to see your results on this. Instead, there's a group mobbing on the thing. And if you're new, you join the mob and take turns and you start learning by doing. And yeah, you don't give great contributions except maybe creativity in the beginning. But because it's attempted to be walk up simple and it's in group, I think humans often underestimate how fast we learn and how much fun it is. It's incredibly fun. You learn super fast and you end up adding value tremendously quickly. Now, coming out of Tesla, I thought, hey, was that real? Am I misremembering it? Is it really like that? And then I just saw a YouTube video from, oh my goodness, I think his name was Farzad. We can, I hope, put a link to it. I can find the link. Another Tesla employee, I did not meet them. I think it's Farzad while I was in Tesla. And Farzad was not a project management expert. I think Farzad was in logistics and import and export. So Farzad is not using the word agile. Farzad isn't using the words I use. He's saying the exact same thing. He said, we put 5 different outbound logistics systems in place in 3 months. He said, in most companies, you do 1 a year, if that. And he's saying, it's just so fast. And he was saying, I'd never done that before. I just walked up and started doing it and people helped me. And I go, okay, no, I'm not crazy. Yes, that is actually exactly the way company operates.
Yes, because I think you also said that the speed at Tesla is so fast that Mr. Agile himself couldn't actually keep up with the speed. So that's also a question of how does Tesla keep their employees, their 100,000 employees, happy and stay because of the speed that seems to be able to break down normal people? How do Tesla keep their employees happy and keep going in this sustainable, this kind of speed?
There seem to be a few ways that make it highly sustainable. And one is if you treat it like a pro sport, and that means you do trim out other non-essential things that aren't adding value to your Tesla career. Not everybody can keep the schedule of a pro athlete year round. But if you can, if you have that self rigor and that can be fun, then it works. That's one way. Another way, oh man, do I really want to go on record? It's totally a problem. This is a real opportunity. Do I really want to go? Yeah, let's be super honest. This is a real problem, but it works. And I've almost said this in so many interviews. I'll finally complete the sentence. People have heard the first half of this sentence maybe 3 times. For example, the bathrooms are really far away. So what do? Either you spend your whole 15-minute break, because where I was in California. So you have California labor law. You actually have clocks and break times. And even if you're in another category of employment, you still have a certain type of labor law that applies to you. So you have time where you have to be off the line, and the bathroom is 3 flights of floors away, and you're in a paint suit and it's summer. For example, or you're in a COVID suit or a Tyvek suit. So you're running up the stairs and you've just been working, and you wash your hands for 30 seconds like you're supposed to. I mean, I did anyway. I think a lot of people did. And then you run back and it's just time. And you're like, that was no break.
Yeah.
Or you pee in a trash can and you put alcohol sanitizer on your hands, and then you go get a coffee. And some people will make that choice, and I'll say they're a lot more rested. and yeah, that's totally afoul of California labor laws and health and sanitation and hygiene. So I have not said that kind of thing for a while. But when you're in a really high performance environment, there are hacks and cheats that are not good, that are accidentally incented. Now, luckily, I don't think I ever witnessed any that were health, direct, like severe health risks, or product safety risks like that. It's not like people were skipping lock in, lock out, tag in, tag out on robots or something. Not like that. But I don't want to make this an expose on what's not awesome about the company, but I'll say the other way is you make your work environment as comfortable as possible, with which Elon does directly endorse and support and says, absolutely go for it. But some people will do that by also super bending the rules. And that does make it more sustainable. You get more chill out time. If you tried to follow for example, California work regulations to the T, that is a recipe for burnout, whether you're working in fast food or working in Tesla, And so unfortunately, there's some legal hurdles to clear that Elon is working on. And that's part of, I think, the reason that Tesla has moved its headquarters to Texas.
Okay. That's very interesting. So I guess would be very different from other places like in Shanghai or Berlin or whatever.
Yeah, that's regional.
Yeah.
Texas
Cool.
was already much more sustainable in my experience when I went to SpaceX Boca Chica. Unfortunately, SpaceX at that time headquarters in Hawthorne, California, had the same labor laws, and is just as difficult. And I don't want to throw California under the bus. There's reasons for all those things. But if you're trying to expand the light of human consciousness out among the stars and working with that level of passion, California labor laws currently, for example, and not only California, embrace the lowest common denominator to protect the overworked and exploited, and aren't optimized for people that are actually excited to be at work and get something done. So there's an opportunity to knock out some of the older laws.
All right. Perfect. Well, this insane speed that we're talking about, that is tough working with. I think you've said that Tesla also don't plan like more than 24 hours ahead.
Oh, well, I mean, it depends, but not at the precise level that you would expect. I mean, I don't want to say they're flying blind, but the detailed planning that most companies do is not present at Tesla.
Okay, because I think you also used an example of the airbags that Tesla makes. The chip that goes into that airbag could be different next week.
Yes. Okay. Yes, absolutely.
So to me, that there must be a really sophisticated software or something that controls all of this. How do they manage all of this supply that is going to change from week to week?
Man, Tesla is an awesome mix of the highest tech I've seen anywhere. And I've worked on some bizarre military projects, some of which I can talk about and some I can't. I can talk about it. I've worked on the F-35, which is arguably the most advanced Joint Strike Fighter on planet Earth, and the F-22, which preceded it, and the Saab Gripen. And, well, I visited and worked with the teams at the Saab Gripen. I didn't directly do engineering on the Saab Gripen, but I was there. I got to visit with the teams and work with the teams. I was more process capability. Okay. But these are some of the most advanced projects humans have ever made, and some others that I don't get to talk about. I've seen more advanced stuff at Tesla, and pencil on paper. The simplest, the most, the absolute most simple. Yeah. So you have this interesting mix when you're going that fast of like hand shoveling sandbags, for example, and crazy awesome self educating robotics, and and they work side by side, and it's this very cool low tech high tech symphony. Yeah. So I mean, I used a hammer and a razor blade and base level, like hobby shop level things in rad awesome production environments. I remember crawling like army crawling through a 4-story tall moving robot, like the most coolest advanced thing I can think of, and I'm inside it and I'm crawling and I've got this kit in my teeth that I'm going to use to try to solve this problem that I just worked on with a team earlier to make that kit. And it's the most low tech MacGyver thing. Like it's these little tools. And so you have this high tech, low tech juxtaposition. So there's that. First, there's extreme low tech and extreme high tech, and they work together. Then, and that's part of what makes the budget work, honestly. It's not high tech everything. I mean, if you watch a YouTube video of Audi manufacturing cars, it's beautiful. It's quiet. It's clean. Tesla's not like that. Tesla is more like watching Starship Troopers. It's like where grit meets science. Like, okay. So how do you handle the constant change? That part is heavily automated. you have these definition of ready and definition of light, definition of done heat maps that are it's basically the autopilot stack, and it's looking with cameras at, I mean, it's vision. It's looking at cameras of parts that are coming in that are new and making assessments. Are these a good idea? Should we use them? Do they meet the definition of ready? And you can check composition, alloys, you can x-ray parts, you can do awesome pre-failure analysis, all automated before a human hand even gets on the thing. And so by the time this, for example, new airbag chip reaches you, it's gone through such a robust level of automated testing that really by the time it touches, how can I say it? It depends where you are, right? I mean, if you were the first one, what you're doing is throwing yourself on making automated tests in a team, right? So in that case, you are saying, how do I even test this thing, right? But by the time it gets to the car to actually in a position to trigger an airbag, it's been so absurdly validated. The automated test coverage is absolutely robust. And the robots are so good at taking a different shape and making it work. I mean, that's just physics. Like that's not even that hard or weird. And the robots have had years and years to be updated and evolved to handle that pretty well. So they're just putting this stuff in and coating it with sealants and adhesives and then water testing it and that kind of thing. The radio frequency shield test. Then the cars put themselves through all road legal compliance tests in factory mode, every single one, before they're sold. So you have 100% test coverage again when it's integrated. It makes it really safe to change your mind quickly.
And that's every single car that goes through this. It's not just one car and then they make a bunch of cars and do another test. It's every single car goes through this test.
Yeah, I love how free you are to make change when you know there's going to be full test on this specific car or this specific rocket or anything. And that's the value of not doing phased development. In phased development, you don't want to make a change because tests aren't going to run until 1,000 cars from now when the next test phase happens. And even then, if you're between minor model changes, only one car out of, for example, 1,000 would be tested. So you don't want to change. You want to freeze change, which does block innovation. But in exchange, you don't have to run tests again. Well, that's a mindset that says testing is expensive. So let's withhold innovation so we don't have to test. Well, Musk comes from software. I mean, PayPal, right? And writing software even before that, X.com. So software folks say pace of innovation is the only thing that matters. What I need to do is make tests cheap and constant. So testing is as fast as possible and essentially free and never stop running tests ever. Then I can introduce change at any time. That is what software does. Well, there's no reason hardware can't. You just have to develop full automated test coverage, which is huge. That's massive. That's what DevOps in hardware is. And that's what Tesla does, and SpaceX and Neuralink and the Boring Company, is they do test-driven development with automated test coverage and great DevOps. Then you can make change anytime, anywhere. And if it was a net increase, now the management problem changes, which is where we started. Now the management problem is, did you make a useful change? How quickly and how cheaply are you able to make useful changes? And that's the gamification of the company after you have awesome, robust, automated, fast, cheap test.
Awesome. Because I think you also said that Tesla has the highest quality marks of any car company. What is it that the build quality, or what is the highest quality mark when you say that?
Noise, vibration, and harshness. Warrantyable defects like would leave you stranded on the road. Fewest. Panel gap now, for example, panel gap. Warranty issues, noise, vibration, harshness, panel gap, all standard luxury metrics. and reliability metrics, Tesla is now top. Now, there's more than one set of studies to analyze this, and many of them are paid by specific companies. Like, that's normal. And as a consumer of information, it's very difficult to know which is an objective study and which is paid for by a specific company, in which case they have to win. And that's allowed. And it's allowed to call that news, and it's allowed to make press releases on that. And sometimes even media outlets don't know and run those. And sometimes the media outlets are paid. But in unpaid testing, Tesla currently is top in all luxury categories. There are some paid ads where brand X is strangely so much higher than all other brands, and you wonder why. And they won car of the year from that brand, and you're like, that's kind of strange. So that happens. But in unpaid testing, yeah, Tesla has the tightest panel gap, the quietest ride, the least incidents, the maximum numbers of kilometers driven without the motorist being stranded, all reliability and luxury metrics.
Wow. Because that was kind of what Tesla was criticized for in the beginning, was panel gaps and build quality in general. So, but I guess if you change like 27 things on the production line every week, you move forward pretty fast.
It'll improve.
Yeah, you will get better.
Then the downside is, since there's breakthrough innovation anytime, whenever it's ready, those numbers could get moved back a few notches at any time, but then they climb again. And this is what Sandy Munro was baffled by and asked Musk about, saying, how can we measured one Model 3 and it was awful, and then 3 months later it was best, and then 2 weeks after that it was only mediocre again. How? And Musk's answer wasn't even that on. And I think it's because Musk has been in this so long. I mean, you cease to see what's shocking anymore. I mean, Musk knows it perfectly, but cease to understand what's shocking to others. And it's that the chassis of the car is changing multiple times. Like the innovation is absurd. Now, the automated tests ensure that quality never goes below a certain threshold, which is really high. So you won't get a bad car, right? Some people could fake that on the internet because they're paid by Tesla or something, but an actual consumer will not get a bad car. That's not a thing. It won't go below a certain very high bar, but the quality will go from best in the world to 10x best in the world, and then only back to best in the world multiple times a week.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, cool. Do they also make these kind of improvements all the time for the team that's working on the prototypes that is not out yet and not being produced yet, like the Cybertruck and Roadster and something? Are they also innovating on that all the time? Because, you know, the Roadster was revealed 4 years ago. So if they have innovated in 4 years, that's going to be a different kind of beast they're going to put on the street than they actually showed us.
Well, oh yeah, it's my understanding. I'm not in Tesla now, but it's my understanding. Okay, there's still some things that are under NDA. I did get to see some things while I was there. Some that are still not known. But I don't have fresh, awesome information. I haven't been in Tesla lately. But yeah, it's gonna be nuts, man. It's even way more nuts than it was when at the unveil. There's not a Roadster team. There's not a Cybertruck team. There's people doing stuff, and they're doing whatever's most important, and that changes. And right now, well, actually, previously, it's getting to be again, but until recently, at least, Roadster was not most important. And so there's not a Roadster team. It's not like they slowed down or got a bottleneck. Like, they're working on the Giga castings for Giga Berlin, for the Model Y launch there, or they're working on spinning that same stuff in Giga Texas, or new battery chemistries. So it's not like the Roadster team is stuck or slow. There is no Roadster team. Those people are doing other, even more awesome things that will all benefit Roadster once Roadster is priority again. And same with Cybertruck. Then here's another non-traditional aspect. There's no difference between making a roadster. How do I say this? It's not like there's this beautiful design studio somewhere that makes the first 5 roadsters and then they transition to production.
Mm.
There are design studios, but that's not where these beautiful sets of roadsters are made. And they will make prototypes there. But when it actually comes to make something, like already Cybertruck is in this, it's the line. Like innovation and design happens in a big empty concrete room, if you're lucky enough to have one. Otherwise, you cram it next to a busy, already full concrete room. And we do that all the time in Tesla. But if you're lucky, it's a big empty concrete room. And you just start making the means to production. Like, it's not like you're hand bending a fender to then figure out how to make it with a robot later. No, you start with the robot and you try to make the fender and you make a bad one. And so then you make a better one. And then you make a great one and you say, all right, now how do I figure out how to make hundreds of these in a day? And that's the production ramp. So you start with production. Again, this is a software mind thing. It's not like modern day software. You start by writing your code in a notebook with a pencil. You start on the keyboard and then you hit compile and learn something and you type more and you hit compile. Or actually now it's auto compile all the time and you have autocomplete. Well, that's actually how the factory is, how design is. So you design on production. You're like, should we design it this way or that way? Let's build another one and see. And by building, you get the design feedback. This helps prevent designs that are difficult to build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because it's difficult to wrap your head around how they actually work at Tesla. But you talk about this, that they have this kind of pilot line. I don't know if that's what you call a full stack as well, where they do everything. They have the power to, they are the ones that install it. They're the ones that improve it. And they are the R&D center and the maintenance guys. And again, how do they get things done? But that's also where you talk about they do mob kind of work, yes. Where they try to get these groups to be smaller and smaller.
Yeah, totally, Lars. Exactly, Lars. Yeah.
And can you explain a little bit, because I can show this one where they talk about a router, where they kind of the top one should be the production line, right? And then they have this router. Oh, what is going on here, Joe? Please explain this to me.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So there is no line in Tesla. You have cells that do production and parts funnel in changing order. And that might sound insane, but if you actually think of a cell, like a living cell in our body or in a plant, there's just nutrition flying around to where it's needed. There's not a line in a human body, in a cell. That'd be inefficient. So Tesla is a far more efficient structure. There's not a line. So you have these cells. So at the top, we see a cell and some value added steps are happening. For example, some car parts arrive. And these value added steps are to install a heat pump, put a trim garnish around it, seal it, and put some rivets on another part of the car chassis. And then it would leave that area, that cell where those value added operations are happening. Well, first, there's a definition of ready test. And often it's optical machine learning. It's autopilot, the autopilot system. And it gives you a heat map to say, are these parts that have just arrived to you, do they meet your definition of ready? And it's not just a red light, green light, it's a heat map and there's red and green and purple and they tell you things. But in general, if it's mostly green, this should work, even though you might not have ever seen these parts before. So they arrive and you do your value added steps. And then if your corresponding definition of done light or heat map really also shows mostly green, and that is the definition of ready light for where those parts are going to be robotically or human pulled off to go. If it's mostly green, then it goes. So stuff comes and you cope with it, you deal with it. And it might be stuff you've seen before, it might be stuff you haven't seen before. Okay, well then how does radical innovation happen? ideally right next to that step, but in practice, wherever there's space, it's often the parking lot under a shade, like you'd fold out at a flea market. Luckily, the weather in California is pretty awesome most of the time, so just sun protection is enough. It's not that cold, it's not that hot, so if you just have shade, you're okay. But it's wherever you could be. Ideally, it's right next to the corresponding step. You have these routers on the incoming area and the outcoming area, and they're like tracks on track switches for a train. I mean, it's not tracks, they're robot controls, or sometimes if you just started, it's humans pulling carts and it's tape on the ground. But you have these routers, and you control them from your phone or a tablet, and you branch one of the sets of parts off, one of the cars, and the rest still keep going where they were going. And now in your small, co-located, cross-functional, self-organizing team, it's your job to make an improvement, whatever it is. And let's say you're going to try to make the heat pump 20% more efficient because you have an idea. You had an idea that morning in the shower that you think you could. So you put it up on the agenda. I'm going to try to improve the efficiency of the heat pump. Anyone that wants to help me, I'll be at these coordinates on the shop floor. I've got a laptop and a roll of duct tape and this robot, and we're going to have at it. And you're there on the floor. I mean, there are almost no chairs. So you're on the floor with your laptop and you're trying to do this, and you're machining parts that you need, and you are calling vendors, but most vendors aren't quick enough to give you a fast feedback loop. So a lot of things are made right there on the floor, so that now you've got pieces of plastic and scraps of metal and a dumpster full of recycling. And, it looks like a little factory now. And a group of people that showed up and they're like, I'm here to help. And you just swarm. If you're successful, if a heat pump now is more efficient, even 1% more efficient than the previous one, and it meets your definition of done light, it's branched in. The router branches it in, and that car is sold. Someone gets a 1% more efficient heat pump. And now your job is to say, can I make more than one? Can I ramp them? This is what's called the production ramp. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. Well, now what that means is you have two cells next to each other. You have this pilot line and you have the main line, and they're both making heat pumps, or they're installing and making and modifying heat pumps. And one is slightly more efficient, but it can't make that many yet. And as the ramp increases, eventually 100% of production is channeled over to what was the pilot line, which is now the main line. Well, it's actually not that simple. That's a simple way to explain it. There's maybe dozens of these in different parts of the plant, making different versions at the same time, all the time. And they're all trying to get better, and they're all in the production ramp. So in aggregate, if you can make N heat pumps a day, that's your limiting factor. So there are Teslas, and this is known. People open up Tesla battery packs and they see different types of cells all the time, for example. That's why there's not like one cell line. There's dozens. And some are supplied by vendors. Some are Tesla-made cells. Well, it's not just cells. People look at cells because they're interesting and it makes good news. Every part of the car is that way. The lumbar support adjust chip or not is one line or another. And which chip that is or isn't is one line or another. And these things aren't even linear. So the supply shuttles back and forth dynamically between all of these things. So in one day, many different versions of every part are being made simultaneously in different quantities. And whichever is currently best is encouraged to ramp up to try to take everything. But the production ramp never ends. Before it reaches 100% of all cars made of that type, there'll be another better innovation. The production ramp will be somewhere else, and probably 10 other places.
Yeah, this is just insane. Joe, you work with other companies like BMW. I believe a year back you said that they expect to be agile in 3 to 4 years.
Right. Yes.
Does that mean they're going to try to be like Tesla, or what does BMW being agile? What does that mean?
Yeah. Okay. Agile is defined by 4 values and 12 principles, and they say it's better to update something often than less often. It's better to have the people making the product create its own architecture. It's good to involve the customer and not make decisions on the customer's behalf without asking them. These principles and values. And it's not very long, it's very general. So agile is very general. There's a lot of ways to do it.
Okay.
No one is doing it like Tesla's doing it.
Okay.
No one is doing it like the Musk companies are doing it. And yeah, there are companies that are getting more agile. But Volkswagen announcing, I know this is going to be dated information. Some people are going to be enjoying this podcast 10 years from now. But it was 3 weeks ago now. Herbert Diess, so that'll date this as well. Herbert Diess was still CEO. Oh, I'm watching this 10 years from now. Herbert Diess was making the 9-year budget plan for Volkswagen. Yeah. That's how agile Volkswagen is. And BMW, when they say they're going to get agile, they're not talking yet, that I experienced, talking about product family decisions being made in less than 7 years. Okay. So the agile being discussed there is not what I'm referring to when I talk about what the Musk companies are doing. So should we use another word? I don't know. Agile is largely understood to mean we want shorter delivery cycles. And one way to do that is empowered teams and self-management. But what a lot of companies don't understand is if you want self-management, you have to have automated rapid feedback, which is what digitalization is supposed to do. And a lot of these companies are still managing with paper. So you can't just magically have self-management.
No.
There's the prerequisite.
Sorry. Yeah, but because Tesla also has, you called it a digital twin, where every car you have a digital twin of this. So you know everything about every other car. And I guess the old OEMs don't have that kind of software yet for their cars.
When I was in Toyota last, they were still using paper. So you can't have that level of speed and dynamicness. It actually wouldn't be safe in Toyota without a massive digitalization project first.
And aren't they doing that? Are they making a company owned by them, but where they try to get agile and then they're going to implement that to Toyota in 10 years time or something like that?
Yeah, Lars, you are well and broadly studied. This is awesome. I'm so glad to be part of Best in Tesla. Yeah, so the reason I got to move to Japan was Toyota got really excited about trying to make this work. And Toyota's strategy, I think, is a pretty good one for a big company with a lot of government ties. So you have to have some parts going at the speed of government. Now, SpaceX is also government tied, and they are way faster. So you can be huge and government tied and be crazy fast. But for most companies, they're not led by Elon Musk, basically. But what Toyota did is a pretty good strategy, and almost every company could do this. They set up a new company wholly owned by Toyota. And at that time, it was called, now it's called Woven Planet. What was it called then? Triad, TRIAD, Total Toyota Research Innovation Advanced Development, I think. And now it's called Woven Planet. It's a separate company, so they don't have to abide by Toyota policies. They don't have any of Toyota's rules. They have their own rule book, but they are owned by Toyota. And they put the next CEO of Toyota in it, Daisuke Toyota, and not as the CEO, as a junior employee. And they installed a whole bunch of mentors for the next CEO of Toyota as the leadership roles. And they got an ex-Googler, an ex-Google United States person to be the CEO of what is now Toyota Woven Planet. And then they had me train everyone in Agile, every single person, including Daisuke Toyota. We did 2 to 4 days of training, depending on the person. And then I came in for consulting and Q&A and ongoing coaching. So now everyone has the same vocabulary. Everyone has the same information on how the company can run. And they ran it top to bottom with Scrum, which is one of the agile methods. You don't have to use Scrum. There's many. There's Kanban, there's XP, and they actually can work together. But in any case, those are buzzwords that most of the audience probably doesn't care about. In any case, they used an agile method The plan is in about 7 years, Daisuke Toyota will be CEO of Toyota and will have already had experience managing an agile company. And Daisuke can then start asking the people that report to Daisuke for agile interactions, as opposed to what's your 5-year plan. Daisuke can say, what are your metrics today? What's your real-time quality and innovation? What's your burn down trend to your next new product release? So Daisuke can start pulling more agile information. Now, 7 more years, I don't know what shape Toyota is going to be in versus Tesla or some of these other nimble companies. So I'm not sure if that plan is actually going to work.
Fast enough. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a low risk way to transition a massive company to agile governance.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, because the switch to EVs is going to be difficult, but I think the switch to being an agile company is going to be even more so difficult for the big boys, because changing culture is normally the harder thing to do to a company, right? So
not that many years ago, we thought a lot of traditional media was the big people. CNBC, NBC, ABC, before that AT&T, we thought they were the big people. Now it's Best in Tesla, it's Twitter, it's Facebook, it's podcasts. And I don't think many of these companies still see it's not software that's eating the world, it's agile that's eating the world. I don't think they see it. Like Volkswagen just made their 9-year financial plan.
Yeah.
What? What kind of supply chain disruption is that going to accommodate?
Yeah, because Volkswagen is the one that said they're going to be catching up to Tesla. They want to be able to produce the ID.3 as fast as Tesla can produce the Model 3 in 5 years. So with the speed of innovation that Tesla does, it's going to be a completely different company and a completely different speed in 5 years' time. I don't think do they get that? or why are they trying to get to Tesla's pace where they are today? Because in my opinion, they are never going to catch up then.
It is actually structurally impossible. I agree with you, Lars. That strategy is in advanced failed strategy. That would be ill-advised.
Yeah, because do you think that manufacturing also, you have to switch to EVs, but will companies that does that survive if they're not agile, if they cannot move this way?
I think one of Musk's superpowers is summing up really complex trends to the core, to the principle, and often even the first principle. And Musk has summed up this agile disruption perfectly. Pace of innovation is the only thing that matters in the long run. It's not quantities of ID.3s or Model 3s made. That's not it. It's pace of innovation is the only thing that matters in the long run. And that does drive all the Musk companies. You can feel that culture as you even get near it, like getting near a huge fire. You can, it penetrates you. And that is not present in any of the other companies I've visited. They're saying, oh, let's increase the level of self-management, which yeah, that's a necessary step. That is. They're saying, let's have automated testing in software. That's a part of it. I agree. Pace of innovation, top to bottom through the company, is a company restructuring activity. And I'm not seeing that happen on a large scale yet.
So do you think, because many people are also saying, well, when they get too big, innovation kind of drops. But to me, it seems like Tesla is just built up to do innovation. Will Tesla stop being innovative in 10 or 20 years' time, or will they just continue?
I don't think Tesla is going to do anything but speed up until Musk stops paying attention to it. What's called waterfall or traditional project management does not require passion. And if you're not excited and passionate and mission driven, And if there's not someone excited and passionate and mission driven who's deciding who gets paid and who doesn't, you fall into waterfall. You fall into traditional project management. And I think that will happen when Musk stops paying attention to the company, unless whoever's paying the staff is just as driven. But Musk might be a 1 in every 4,000 years type of human.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So you also talked about, just not taking too much of the time here, Joe, but you talked about SpaceX and Tesla helping each other. That SpaceX, I believe you said, the Model 3 and Y, body in white, they actually produced. And how collaborating are these companies? Because you've talked about the future. Where do you see all this in 10 and 5 years time? Because all of Musk's companies are working together. But will he form one company, or are they so collaborative that it doesn't need to be one company for the value of Tesla to become something very, very big?
Yeah, the companies have more overlap than I think a lot of people notice. Now, I intentionally went to different company sites because I actually wanted to test that idea. Is it permeable? Can you go wherever you want? Yeah, you can go wherever you want. You can see anything you want. You can do anything you want. It's completely open. And how to say this part? Inside, there's almost no differentiation at all between any of the Musk companies. It really is like X.com. Now, for the products to make sense on the outside, or to simplify taxation, which, I mean, that's a hot topic right now. Musk pays super taxes, 53% taxes. The companies have separation. But if SpaceX does awesome, Tesla does more awesome. If Neuralink does more awesome, Tesla does more awesome. The chips one company uses and innovates are the chips the other companies use. Across the board. So when it comes to a valuation perspective, which some investors I think are really curious about, if any Musk companies have an advancement, it's trivially and immediately available to all Musk companies, and they all ride on that wave, and it only compounds. So Starlink, at some point, it's reasonable to assume, will assist the self-driving capability of Teslas. And the cost to maintain Starlink and increase its capability only drops as the cost per kilogram into orbit drops. And if Neuralink ever becomes a thing, and I'm betting it does, I actually think Neuralink will be successful. If Neuralink ever becomes a thing, Musk has said watches and phones are last generation's technology. Neuralink is the future. Well, how do you think you're going to be able to talk to this awesome new internet upgrade called Starlink? Not through your phone, not through your watch. Well, now you've just cut out the market cap, potentially, possibly, of smartwatches, phones, and laptops, and replace them with the market cap of Neuralink, which now increases the value of your Tesla. And so this ecosystem self-compounds. It would be as naive as saying, well, AirPods don't help MacBooks. Like, the ecosystem, actually, Apple's been pretty awful since Cook. AirPods actually don't connect to the MacBook as well as you'd want. Never mind, bad example, and they all have different chargers. Well, imagine back when Steve Jobs was alive, and the ecosystem actually connected. It's like that. So if cost per kilogram goes down into orbit, which is SpaceX mission, and Neuralink starts to increase connectivity to the tech stack, and Tesla is developing the tech stack, and Boring Company is improving the infrastructure, and OpenAI is helping provide more research and development on that tech stack, they all rise together. And I don't think, I think you do need to be a little bit of a futurist to understand what Musk is trying to do. And if it works, it doesn't matter which company is the publicly traded company. It's essentially X.com, whether it's called TSLA or not.
Okay. Okay, cool. So will Tesla be okay if Elon Musk is not here anymore? If in 2 years' time he's not here, will Tesla survive and be as the Tesla we know it today? Or will there be a shift, like you say, with Steve Jobs and Tim Cook?
There's two major risks to Tesla, and it really looks like Elon Musk is working hard on mitigating both those risks, but there's still risks. One is government intervention. There could be still a large-scale government intervention from any nation or collection of nations that could break up, disrupt, or make illegal Tesla. That could happen. And so Tesla's not a sure bet. None of the Musk companies are. Then the other is Musk. If Musk got brain cancer or got really distracted, involved in something else, wanted to go do yoga in the mountains for 16 years, yeah, that would be a massive problem. Now, Musk is working super hard on both those issues. And the Musk replacement, I don't think calling it that is quite right, is partly being held by distilling the goals down into really short sound bites that almost all of us can understand easily, so that Musk's decision-making calculus is available. This is part of why when Musk did a Starbase tour, Musk took the time to say, here is what I want engineers thinking about in order. These are the 4 steps I want them evaluating. What Musk is doing is trying to Musk-proof the company. You know, if Musk got hit by another car or assassinated or some horrible thing, how much of this information is easily understandable? And also, Musk works super hard on the AI stacks to try to systematize and roboticize much of what Musk is trying to put in as management. But what is not yet accommodated is Musk's charisma. I do think it takes a charismatic leader who's deciding to pay people, who is paying people. And if some other group somehow bought Tesla and ousted Musk and replaced Musk with anyone else who's paying people, maybe they still even retained Musk as a chief engineer, but the paychecks came essentially from someone else, the culture would change. And that is a massive risk. And I think that's part of why Musk is so driven and views Musk's lifetime as the work back schedule for this.
All right, cool. Well, we cross our fingers that nothing happens to Elon Musk in the next many years. Joe, I could keep talking to you for hours in these topics, and I have a lot of more questions, but maybe we can do something another time because my brain is starting to melt over the speed of Tesla. So I just want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to speak with me here in Invest in Tesla, and it's been an honor having you on, and enjoy your time in Japan where you're at right now.
Lars, I look forward to having a great coffee or a great beer with you sometime, depending on time of day. And I look forward to showing you around some of the Tesla sites or factories if I got a chance to host you there. Or I'm involved in startups now myself and trying to be my best little Musk, which I think is our best job. You know, cheer for whoever's best and then try to be the best also. And show you around some of my solar powered factories sometime and play with that. You can see what I'm up to at abi-agile.com. And I follow Best in Tesla, so you can tweet at me there at Joe Justice. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Lars.
Thank you so much. I will leave a link to how to get in touch with Joe down below. Thank you so much, Joe. Thank you. Take care. Bye. So that was my interview with Joe Justice. I hope you thought that was as interesting as I did. I could speak for hours. I have so many more questions, but there's just so much to dig into. But just the speed of Tesla is what I really wanted to dive into, because it is just mind-boggling how fast Tesla is. And as we talked about, Volkswagen think they can catch up to Tesla speed as they is today, but they want to be there in 5 years' time. Just shows you how they do not understand the speed of Tesla. And it is hard to wrap your head around how they even make this work in the factory, because they change so much all the time. But in my opinion, Tesla is just too far ahead and moving way too fast for anybody to catch up. But this is where we're going to wrap up the video. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, take care out there and be nice.